Okay, welcome to this episode of MindMeld, where we try and help you move up in life and not just on with it. My amazing guest today is Sjoerd de Waal. He is the founder of Trainnovation, an innovative training, coaching, and consultancy firm in the Netherlands. He has trained and coached leaders at all levels from Europe to the Middle East. After a career at sea, he spent 20 years in various leadership positions. From this and an MBA from Webster University, he found his passion in leadership development. He shares that passion in many ways, such as by writing books and blogs and organizing seminars and webinars. In 2014, he published his first book, Lead Between the Lines, which was directed at helping first-time leaders stop suffering, start leading, and get results. In 2018, he co-authored the book, The Whole Brain Leader, an 8-dimensional approach to transform your leadership by developing yourself and coaching others. Sjoerd is currently busy with Marshall Goldsmith executive coaching programs. Sjoerd, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of MindMeld.
Thank you very much for having me, Brand.
So it says you spent
I'm already enjoying myself.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. Yeah. You had a career at sea, it says. What career was that? What did you do?
Well, I was an engineer. I've been sailing from 1983 until 1992 on several types of ships, oil tankers, gas tankers, fruit carriers, and in the end with Holland America Line cruises. So everything with to do with mechanical engineering that was on board of ships.
Oh, that's long hours, eh?
Yes, that have been long hours, and that was at a certain moment also the reason to go ashore. I worked, standard was 70 hours a week. Most of the times it was 80, and that was for 5 consecutive months. And then you had 2 months off in which you saw your spouse again, and then went off to sea again. So at a certain moment you want to have a family, and that's not the way you want to see your children grow up. So that's when I stopped sailing.
That's when you stopped sailing and became a landlubber.
Yep, it happened.
It happened. Now I want to talk about the 2 books, the Whole Brain Leader, which is this book here, and more specifically, The Lead Between the Lines, which is a guide for first-time leadership. So this entire discussion is really about leadership in general and what to look out for, what's the sort of pitfalls for a first-time leader, and how you can gear yourself up to become a better leader and to be the leader that you deserve to be and that your people deserve to have. So you wrote your first book in 2014. What sort of prompted to do that, to actually sit down and write a book on leadership?
Well, writing a book was on my bucket list for a long time already, and so it was. I'm a bit slow. When I look back, I started thinking about writing a book in, it was 1986. So it was almost 30 years later that finally there was a book, and it's also quite a thin one if you see it. But it took me quite a while, but it was in my head all the time. The original book I had in mind back in the 80s, that was one with short stories, and the title, maybe I will use it later, but it was The Death of a Banana and Other Bizarre Stories. It didn't come into publishing, but in 2013, I was at a seminar when someone was promoting his book writing program. And I decided at that very moment, okay, I'm going to write that book that I had in my mind for a long time. And I know that it is going to be about leadership.
So, that's nice. And you sat down and you just did it. And we had this sort of like pre-interview discussion, and you basically just sat down and you just wrote what was in your head. And so you didn't do that much research. It's all based on your own experience and what you know from your training and your reading and your programs that you do.
Yeah, basically you're right in that part. For the writing itself, the technical stuff, that was indeed a program. So you were prompted to write stuff quite regularly. So that was good for me. And the other thing is that I first made a structure of what I wanted to write about. And within that structure, I was able to continue to write it down, to write it down, to write it down. And the first steps you do with writing is write as much as you can and do some free writing. What's already in your head. Start putting it on paper. Continue writing for 10, 20 minutes. And don't judge yourself on your writing at that time. But there is so much about leadership that I had accumulated in all those years that it just flew out of my pen or well, the type board. No, I really started writing it down. That was the first thing. I started writing it down, and after the writing, then I typed it into the screen and slept over it and read it and saw it was a lot of bollocks and then put something new into it. So I was in the process of editing it on the way. And yeah, well, it was most of the times quite free flowing. It was easy to write.
That's good. It's such a nice book because it's written in such a, I don't want to say casual, but playful way, I want to say. For example, let's say your first chapter, right? I'm just looking at it here now. Chapter 1, what did I do to deserve this? And I can tell you, I felt so many times that exact same thing. It's like, what did I do to deserve this? Ah, man, it just really, because it's not easy being the leader. You know, you're always on call. You're always the one that, you know, it's basically take the blame, share the fame. You know, and it's such a difficult part. But it's not about. For example, you explained as well, you know, that you might not benefit from leadership monetarily, but when you see your results and you see the payoff of all your efforts, you know, that is something that that sort of experience you can't get from anything else. So how did you come to you know, how did you separate the chapters? Because like, what did I do to deserve this? You know, it seems like it's a very, it's like the first part. You know, what would you say would be needed to answer that sort of question?
Yeah, well, how did I? What a good book needs to have is some kind of a model. And I thought, well, what could be a model for my book? And I was thinking about it. Okay, what is important in leadership, for instance, in my opinion, especially when you are starting off as a leader, because most of the time the transition from being the expert to becoming the leader is just like splash and you're in the deep, and that's what's happening so often. And you're looking for some handles to hold and to continue doing a good job. But the job is totally different, and when you don't have some guidelines on how to work with it, it's yeah. You can
exactly.
ask yourself, what did I do to
what did I do to deserve this?
Can I get back?
Can I go back? Yeah, but that's the
on
thing.
The other hand, one way or another, you deserved it, and in many cases, in many organizations, it's because of the wrong reasons that you deserved it, because you were good at your job. And sometimes you were able to say some smart words as well. And that combined made you a boss or a leader. And there's so much more to leadership.
Yeah.
So
I've noticed the same thing,
yeah, what I had in my model is to start with the foundation of awareness. And awareness is about asking yourself a lot of questions. What did I do to deserve this? Try to find what are your strengths. Where can you get better? Where are you now? Why did people choose you for this particular step in your career? And if you know more about that, then you can build on that and don't try to second guess in a lot of things.
So there's
So
this
that's
So there's this Sun Tzu quote that goes something like, "Know yourself, know your enemy, and you don't need to fear the outcome of 100 battles," or something like that. And I think that's very much relevant now. If asking yourself the question, "What did I do to deserve this?" Understanding, understanding what skills you have, what your team is, understanding when you're going to be overwhelmed, all kinds of things. It's so necessary
Mhm.
for leadership.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We are doing so much on autopilot. I see that all the time when I'm coaching people, when I'm training people in leadership roles. They are busy, 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 and it's so much because of being in the autopilot mode. And if you know a bit more about what you're doing, why you're doing it, then you understand. But okay, well, maybe there is some other way than busyness, and try to find out why am I doing things like this? Why can't I do it in another way? So
Mm.
yeah, asking the questions, that's really important.
I think that's so important because answers are easy. Everybody's got an answer for everything, but it's asking the
Hmm.
right questions that's really the tricky one.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you don't know. That sounds weird, but if you don't know what questions to ask, then you don't know what kind of answers you can possibly get and where you can go with
Hmm.
something. So starting from the beginning and just saying, it's like, okay, so what skills do I have? What sort of hard skills, soft skills do I need to be able to do my job better?
Hmm.
Is this all there is? What can I do else? Where can I go else with this? And I don't think enough people, especially in leadership, ask themselves that question. They do the same thing that everybody else is doing, and everybody else is doing it badly as well. So it
Exactly,
doesn't
because
happen.
how did they
How
learn?
did they learn it from everybody else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it's tripling, 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 and yeah, it's yeah, what we call the lame is leading the blind, or
Yeah, 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 yeah,
and
yeah.
and that's what's happening in most starter roles in leadership, is that you, yeah, okay, you look around, you see how other people are doing it, and try to copy that, and see, okay, I'm doing it just like you're doing it, so that must be okay.
Yeah.
But you also have to find out what is really wanted from me, what is really wanted from the team. What should I do? Talk with people, talk with your boss, talk with your team, talk with your peers, get the information, and yeah, work on it, because it's a totally different role, and you don't need to be the big guy at that moment. Be vulnerable and ask questions.
Yeah, and that's actually one of your titles is dare to be vulnerable. Because I think so many people they're in this leadership position and they think they're expected to know everything. They need to
Yeah.
be right all the time, and that one you're never going to be right 100% of the time.
No,
And yeah,
and that's a misdemeanor, but thinking that you need to know everything,
mm.
it's just not right.
And if you go into that sort of mindset, if someone challenges your perceived value of you are the one that's got all the answers, you're going to fall down very fast, and
Hmm.
it's not going to be helpful for anybody. So you need to be vulnerable. You need to dare to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and people come to you asking permission for certain things,
Mm.
and yeah, then you have to think it over, then you have to give it your source. But it's better to ask the people asking for permission.
Mm.
Okay, what do you think yourself? What should be the best solution for this
Mm.
problem, for this situation? And most of the times, they are the experts. They know better than you do.
Yeah.
Especially when you come further into management and leadership, uh, you don't know the details anymore. You don't know. You don't have the expertise. You're not practicing anymore. So you lose part of the yeah, experience.
Mm.
So leave that kind of experience with the people that are supposed to do the job.
Yeah, like you said in the beginning, sometimes you get into a leadership position because you were good at your job. But being good at your job does not make you a good leader. It just makes you good at sales or PR or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you're automatically going to be a good leader. And so many companies promote people because they're good at their jobs. But it's a completely different skill set to be able to lead people in that job.
Yeah.
And
So the companies have to be more creative in finding different ways to award those people that are good in their job and that are giving their fullest. And many of them that are promoted are not happy anymore. They will leave the company. So,
because what did I do to deserve this sort of a situation?
Exactly.
I didn't ask for these responsibilities. I don't even know half the time what I'm doing, and it's such a pain and it's such a burden to be able to be the leader all the time. It's exhausting. So if you are in that position, yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
No, it's like just when you're in that position, and you got promoted above your experience. And above your desire, I think, as well. If you desired leadership and you had the experience and you wanted to pursue that role, then absolutely that's for you. But if you got promoted and you've got a nice bonus at your paycheck and maybe a few more benefits, but that doesn't guarantee job satisfaction, which is actually, like in the beginning of the book, you quoted the Gallup study about how many people, like 70% or something like that, is just not happy in their jobs, And if you don't know what you want, if you don't know yourself, you're never going to be happy in what you do.
No. I think it's also, I read it somewhere not too long ago. Is okay, let's start with becoming happy in your job and make it an effort to become happy in your job, and then find that you can be happy in what you're doing. And I know it's from Seth Godin. I don't know if you've ever read something from Seth Godin.
It sounds familiar, but I can't place it at the moment.
Okay, now he's a marketing guru.
Oh, right. Okay.
He wrote a book, Linchpin, and that is also about personal leadership. Is okay, bring in the effort, look for yourself. What am I good in? What do I like to do? How can I get the most satisfaction of my work instead of complaining about what your work looks now?
Yeah.
And if you start from that point of view, you can get a lot of satisfaction from your job, and that's really much more important than the money.
It is, because in your book it states, victim or leader, it's up to you. So if you're in a position, then you need to decide, is that where you want to be? And if that is where you want to be, you need to stop complaining and start doing. It's up to you where you want to be and what you want to do. So
exactly.
Playing the blame game is not helping, and if you're not happy, find out why you're not happy and do something about it.
Exactly. It's easy to complain and be sure that I have complained a lot about my bosses, about the people I've led, my peers. I've complained about a lot of people, and I will be complaining about others and myself as well every now and then. But I've learned to reduce that considerably, because it's not going to make me happy. It's not going to make my spouse happy. It's not going to make my family happy. It's not going to make my friends happy. So, and well, we're in this world for just a very, very short time. So why not be happy?
Why not be happy? Yeah, be happy. And I've got someone that I constantly complain to about, things that happen in the leadership position and stuff like that. And I tell that person, it's like, I know I'm complaining a lot, but do know that I'm going to do something about it too. It's like complaining just sort of like gets me out of my own head. Because sometimes it's difficult to voice what you're thinking or process what you're thinking. You need to sort of step back. And because it becomes overcomplicated, I want to say, in your own head. You sort of like make things more worse than it's actually supposed to be. And, even one of your, in chapter 2, you say, keep it simple, stupid, it's keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. Sometimes the easiest answer is the correct one, You don't always have to overcomplicate things with this model and this sort of process. Sometimes just something like as simple as a conversation can go a very long way.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's one of the points in nowadays business is that we tend to communicate a lot less, at least a direct communication between the two people or between the boss and the team. It's so much with email, with WhatsApp, with text messages and what have you, instead of talking to each other face to face and have talk and okay, what's bothering you? How can I help you?
Yeah.
Things like that. That's and when you are dealing with something that is causing you to complain a lot, take a piece of paper and a pen, write it down, and ask yourself why. Why is this bothering me? What deeper thoughts are causing this? What can I do about it? Because what you said indeed is you keep a lot of things in your head. As soon as you write it down, it's out of your head and it's somewhere else for reference, and it doesn't bother you at that time anymore. So write it down, try to find some solutions to it.
I like that, yeah.
Or take it with you and ask other people. So this is something that's bothering me. What am I doing wrong? Can you help
that's
me?
good, because that dare to be vulnerable again, asking other people for their opinion, for it's like, because you have to recognize that you don't know everything, and sometimes you're going to make mistakes, but you need to have people that's going to be honest with you, and that foundation of trust is really important, or what you call your pillars of trust in the book, and it's so important to have that, especially when you communicate, because you want honest feedback, you want people to be honest with you. And there's so many times when I want to say something, someone texted me something and I want to say very harshly and I want to make a quick response, and then I'll go through like 4 or 5 messages where I just I type up the message and then I'm going to delete it. I'm going to try again. And then I delete it and I try again until I just say, I understand what you're feeling, and we can have a discussion on that later. And, we can come to terms with it. But it takes me like 4 or 5 tries. Like when I just wanted to retaliate, someone did something and I just want to pounce and or did something or didn't do something, and then I want to snap. But then, you need to take a step back and say, okay, look, I'm upset and I'm responding now out of frustration and anger and all kinds of things. So taking that sort of that step back and understanding that communication is important, and also how you communicate with that person, which is also what's really important about whole brain leadership. It's such a great tool for teaching you how to communicate with other people if you use it correctly, because everybody's got different perspectives and ways of thinking and so forth. And that book is such a useful tool to be able to identify who you're talking to and how best to communicate and come up with a solution to work together. It's so important, and like in your book, adaptive design, like a friend of mine, Rovendeck, says that a plan that can't change is a plan that's not worth keeping,
Okay.
So it's
That's
important.
true.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you shouldn't have a fixed mindset when you communicate with people, and I think that's important.
Absolutely.
And so know the neighborhood, that's next. And it's
Yeah,
just
well,
your titles are also clever, it's you keep it simple and it's so easy to understand what you mean. And when you read it, it's like, yeah, I get it. I just love the book. It's like, yeah, I can't talk enough about how much I love the book. But yeah, know the neighborhood, know what you can do, know your playground, I want to say, almost,
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Like when you grow up and then you know your house, and then the street you live on, then the neighborhood. You have to scale up, and so where you play or where you lead, know the neighborhood. And I don't think enough people sort of get to know who they're dealing with, and like leading in Bangladesh is different than leading in Namibia. Leading
Absolutely.
Forbes is different than leading Microsoft. Know the neighborhood.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Where can you go to? What are what is the culture, what kind of people are living here, what is expected of you. So yeah, it's knowing your neighborhood. And if you moved house in your youth or somewhere, and you were placed in a completely different neighborhood, you had to make friends again.
Yeah.
You had to find out, and well, you're now placed in a completely different neighborhood. You have to make friends again. Those are other friends, and you're the new guy or the new
Yeah.
girl on the block.
I've experienced leadership where someone would come in from a different company and then they would just try and do everything or make everyone do what that previous company did, whether that works or not, whether that situation applies or not, you know, and everybody got upset. Nobody liked it. And he kept everyone at a distance, you know, and always propelled himself up or propped himself up. And it just doesn't work. You have to know the neighborhood, know who you're dealing with, know what you can do, know the area, know the people.
Yep. And try, if you want change, if you need to change, if this is why you have been hired, yeah, okay, get to know that neighborhood, know what helps and what doesn't help. If you're just trying to put the square into a round hole,
Yeah,
it doesn't work. So you really have to get your mind around it, get your thoughts out, talk to people and listen.
I think listening is also one of those keys of communication, you know, that people talk all the time but they never sit down and just shut up and listen, you know.
Yeah. One of the exercises I do when I give training around the Lead Between the Lines book is an exercise of really listening, and that is really listening to understand. And what we are most of the time are doing is listening to react. So we hear something and chuck, we know something. And really listening to understand and ask those questions necessary to help the other solving their problem or challenge, it's so rewarding for the listener as well as for the one bringing up the problem or the challenge.
Yeah, and people just listen to respond, you know. They don't listen to listen or to take in or to sort of process something. They listen with keywords that they can respond to. Oh, you said this, so I'm gonna jump in now and I'm gonna
Exactly, yes. And it's difficult and it's simple as well. It's difficult because your normal brain reaction is to react. The stimulus response. You have something coming up and you want to respond immediately. But you can make that area between the two. You can make it bigger. You can give yourself some time. What you're doing with your text, that you say, okay, I put in something new, and I delete it, and I put in something new, and I delete it.
Yeah.
You're really expanding the period between your stimulus, the message that you got that made you angry, and your response, that very well thought through message you're sending back.
Yeah. So I did a good job.
Yeah.
Yay!
There you go. No, it's like that because it's so easy to make a fuss of everything, but you don't know the emotions lying behind the text message that you got. You can get a text message from someone who is in a jolly mood and make some joke about something.
Yeah.
And you're in a bad mood at that moment, and you see it as criticism.
Yeah.
And
you take offense.
You don't know, especially with text messages, even though you have all those emoticons, you don't know what the mood of the other person is, because you can also, when you're in a bad mood, you can interpret the jolly emotions as being cynical. So there's so much danger in those small lines. And if you're not sure about the mood that it was set in, pick up the phone or walk to the office of the other person.
Yeah, have a conversation.
Have a conversation.
Yeah, and I like that so much because in the book as well, you know, you talk about the lines of communication, you know, and I don't think we understand how we communicate and how other people communicate. Like you say, you know, it's like even though we have emoticons and all kinds of things, there's so much that gets lost. Intonation, voice and character and all kinds of things in just a simple text message. Like even on Facebook, someone the other day called me a dog hater or something like that because I posted something and it was just funny. It was just the funniest thing, I didn't take it as serious or anything like that. And then I got this big letter and it's like, how can you hate dogs so much? And it's like, it's a dog riding a skateboard. No one is forcing it. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. Relax. But I just said, look, I'm sorry if you were offended.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it. I'm not a dog hater. But my first thought was like, okay, block, unfriend, goodbye. Then I said, okay, let's just take a moment. Maybe he's having a bad day. Maybe he experienced dogs riding skateboards and his childhood trauma or something.
Whatever.
Whatever. But just say, look, I hear you, and try and respond appropriately. Because it's so difficult because you don't know what happened, to cause that sort of line of communication. And so a lot of people just make snap judgments and speak to.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly like you say, they don't listen to listen or to take in, they listen to respond. And when they see something, they're having a bad day, they saw someone to target, and that just happens to be you at that moment.
Yeah. And often what happens is that they want to put to project their kind of thinking on you. And sometimes I did it myself to others as well, because before becoming experienced, you have to find your way as well.
Yeah.
And you make your mistakes, and that's part of your experience. You have traveled your road, and it's full of stupidity on my side as well. And yeah.
But doing something. Yeah, sorry, go.
And we when we're talking about stupid people or making stupid mistakes, in Holland we have got the saying of an uilskuiken. That's the baby bird of an owl.
Oh, okay.
And an owl is seen as someone with wisdom.
Wisdom, right.
Yep. And what I say is, every owl once has been an uilskuiken, and every owl has been an uilskuiken. So you have to grow into that wisdom. You have to experience things. You have to experiment, and that's part of the experience as well. So make your mistakes everywhere you can, but try to not knock over people on the road.
Yeah, but you also advocate in the book, doing a SWOT analysis of yourself, asking other people what your blind spots are. It's all comes down to knowing who you are as a person, because the better you know yourself, the better you can respond and lead other people, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others either.
And because you spoke about personal leadership or self-leadership, that's a big part of leadership, is to be able to lead yourself. Because if you don't lead yourself, you're not leading other people. If you're constantly insecure about what other people say or do, if you're not secure in who you are, or you can question your decisions sometimes that you make. But when you make a decision, you can't keep on taking it back. You can't make a decision and say, oh, no, wait, let's try something else. Oh, no, wait, before it's even started. So even in my workshops, I do this thing where we hit a golf ball. And so then I've got two people, and I say, okay, you hit a golf ball. None of them have ever had any experience playing golf or anything like that. I said, okay, so you hit the golf ball. Okay, it's not great, but it's fine, and they keep hitting it and they get better and better. And then the second person, they come up and they start hitting the ball now. And I say, as soon as just before they hit the ball, they say, stop. Right, hang on, let's try this and this and this. And the next time I try, and it's like, stop. So they never actually hit the ball, that constant second guessing yourself. And I say, that's what, you can't do that in leadership. You have to allow for failure, because that's how you grow. Everybody was an uilskuiken, you said?
Uilskuiken, yes.
Uilskuiken, yeah, at some point in time. So you have to allow them to hit the ball a few times and then get the feel for it.
Yeah, and see how you can build it up and see, okay, what is the risk? What's the real risk coming from doing this? A question I ask myself very often is, what's the worst that can happen to me at this moment? What happens when this decision that I take is the wrong one? Okay, I can look stupid. Okay, that happened before, so no problem.
I lived through it.
Yeah, well, you really have to find it out, and you really have to dare to experiment, and that's the way to grow. It's not always comfortable, and you're not always happy with it, and sometimes you have to say, okay, sorry, I did it wrong, and these are the results.
Yeah, but then you learn from those results. You know, you can't just keep on doing the same thing. You have to constantly look at what you've done. Like there's this rule of failure, you know, it's only failure if you never learn something from it. And there's different kinds of failure as well. Sometimes something happens, and even though you've made no mistake, you still end up losing. That's not so much failure as it is life. Life just gone away. But then there are the other times when you could have done something, you could have seen this coming, right? But instead you were so focused on yourself or you know, the not looking stupid or something like that, you never did anything with it. So there are different kinds of failure, and you need to know what happens. And so.
There are more people that are regretting the things they didn't do than the things they did.
Because you always wonder what could have been, right?
Exactly.
And you're never happy because you didn't even take a chance. Because it's fine losing, but you didn't even play the game. That's worse.
Exactly. And it's it's with writing, it's with taking on an assignment from someone. You mentioned in the introduction having worked with people in the Middle East, in Europe, and what have you. One of the assignments I had was a consultancy assignment in the Middle East, and I was someone approached me with the question, can you do a consultancy for that and that company? It will take you 3 or 4 weeks. I thought, okay, I've never done consultancy. I've seen some guys doing it, and I think I can do it. And that was a very, very, very nice, awarding assignment. And in the end, I got some comments. We expected a guy coming in with a suit and a suitcase and like the McKinsey guys, but you were just a normal person.
Yeah.
We didn't expect that, and you could communicate with us, and well, I did another kind of job, but it worked out. So you have to take chances every now and then, and really step into it, and it works out.
Yeah, and I like that, you know, that because like even in when I do coaching or consultation or whatever, you know, I tell people like I don't have all the answers. I don't know your business the way you know your business. I'm just here to help you find those answers. Right? I'm not here to change your business I'm not guaranteeing your success or anything like that. I'm here to help you become better at what you do already. So it's not me coming in and fixing everything for you. Because I don't know your business. I don't know, like I was asked to consult a company that sells tires in the Cape. And I was like, look, I don't know anything about selling tires, right? But I can help you become a better business by using these tools and these guides and so forth. But I can't sell it for you. I can't sell your tires for you.
Exactly. Yes. And I'm always happy when I'm coming in as a coach that I'm the one who is asked to do the stupid questions, and that's great. I can ask them, and they have to find the answers to it. And well, that's what when people are learning is, okay, this is a stupid question.
Yeah, but then you have to think about it, you know. It's those stupid questions that are the difficult ones to answer. Because how do you explain it to someone who doesn't have the 20-year experience, you know?
Yeah.
Because to you it seems stupid, but explaining it to someone else, that's a different level of thinking right there. And so that opens up your mind to thinking, you know, differently and thinking more and you know, taking another look at things. And I love that. I love that.
Yeah, everybody knew it was impossible until someone came in who didn't know that.
Yeah.
And most of the times, I'm the guy that didn't know it.
Yeah, we get so lost in procedure and the daily routine that the people who don't know something is possible, they do it. Or something
Yeah.
that, or don't know that the culture says it's not possible to do something. You know,
Yeah.
that level of thinking keeps us back. That, it's not possible, it can't be done.
Well, that's there you have another point that is also something from these days. The procedures. The procedures are always holy, and what happens a lot is there are always coming in new procedures, but we never say goodbye to the old ones.
Yeah, we never take
So
away from the old ones.
exactly. It's what you see with the ISO mafia, is that you get all those books full of procedures
Yeah.
and never take out the thing. So it's
Yeah. And I love companies that look at themselves objectively. Every once in a while, you don't have to do it all the time, of course, because you'll never get anything done. But thinking to ourselves, is this still relevant? Why are we still doing this? There's a lot of times that we do something because it was relevant. Okay, so example, I was speaking to an IT technician. He still has to sign everything in triplicate, right? Even though he's got a system in place that does everything automatically, he still has to use a pen and paper to sign something in triplicate.
And probably he sells IT stuff, software that makes it unnecessary to
it makes it unnecessary because everybody gets the same message, right? It can't be lost or destroyed. It's in the cloud, all kinds of things. But he still has to sign for everything, with a pen and paper in triplicate. And it's just like, we never think, it's so useful.
No, it's also what do you see is people coming into a company, they stay there for 10 years. And they're in the company and they don't care about learning too much, and they just do their work and they do it the way they did it 10 years ago. But if you see the speed of change nowadays, how fast things are changing in the world, and how difficult it is to keep up, if you continue just doing the things you always did, you will be extinct in a few years. So there you go. For another part is look around what's happening, and know your neighborhood is one of those things. What's happening to your neighborhood, and not only in your own organization, not only in your own team, but look outside. What's happening?
Look up from the desk once in a while and see what's out there. So there's a lot of conferences always happening, but you need to send your people there, but send the right kind of people. The people who want to learn and want to come back with new knowledge, not the person who's been there every single time and is just there to attend the conference one day and then the next few days he's out drinking or doing whatever. You want the right kind of people at these conferences. But then also, when they come back, you need to listen to them, because we talked about listening now, and you send them because you can write it off on taxes or whatever. But then they come back with all these new ideas, of how to change things and how to do things better, but we don't listen to them. No. It's like, then why did you say me on the conference?
Exactly. And then that person is coming back to his organization or her organization and coming in, being enthusiastic about everything they learned and telling to their colleagues. And then one of the colleagues, oh yeah, by the way, that gentleman called, that lady called, he called, she called, you have to call them back, and the boss is asking for you, and before you know, you're sucked into the everyday work,
the everyday routine, and you don't get time to implement the new ideas.
No, and it's, I think when you're higher in leadership, you have to find people, you give the room to expand, the space to develop, and get people enthusiastic about the development and get them on board as well. And that can make the company so much stronger, and life for a leader and their followers so much more fun, so much easier, and then you will have the engagement of your people, and in your Gallup ranges you will go up, and you will see people are engaged, people do want to give their best when they're at work, but not in a routine. They want to have excitement.
That's why consultants are so important, that have that objective outside view. That's not part of the company or part of the daily routine, but can implement change or suggest it rather. It's up to the management to, of course, actually implement it. But we talked about you don't know what you don't know. And when you get sucked into the daily routine, you don't have time to think about how else to do this or what's a better way of doing this.
Yeah.
What's going to make my life easier.
Yeah, and often the false expectations. We think that is expected from us, but we don't know. And then again, you come back and ask, what is expected from me? What do they want from me? Both on the top as well as on your own team and your peers. Try to find out what is it that they want from you, and see what you can do to make it happen.
I think that's also in a book about, asking the question, what do they want? I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was in a book somewhere about asking that exact question. It's like, what is expected of me, or what do they want of me? And because otherwise you're just busy being busy. You're not productive really. You're just doing things for the sake of doing things.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and you talk about goals and setting goals and all kinds of things, and it's so important to have a question of, are these goals in line with what's actually expected of me, or I'm just doing somebody else's work now, or what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the beautiful things about goal setting is, I was a bit fed up with the SMART goals, because I don't think they are that smart.
Specific,
I talked about
measurable, attainable, realistic, and timed. I think it was.
Yes, and you can give some other words to it as well. I see the A as activating, and I discussed that with Ingvar Johnsson, with whom I wrote the other book. And I said I'm not happy with the SMART goal setting, and we were thinking about it, and I said it's all so much left-sided of the brain. It's all logical. It's all about measurable. It must be activating or realistic. You must have it within a certain time frame. So what I miss is the emotions behind the goal. Why do I want to reach such goals? What are the benefits for me? What is the emotional leverage for those goals? And that's why we invented, or in our book, the Whole Brain Leader, we invented the Be Smart goal setting, so that we included the benefits and the emotional leverage that you could bring to the goals. Why do I really, really want to attain those goals?
Yeah, it's not just doing things for the sake of doing things. Why am I doing this? Yeah, why should I employ a SMART goal? Yeah. And I like that.
I was missing the why question in SMART goal setting. The SMART goal setting is, it must be specific, it must be measurable, it must be attainable, it must be realistic, it must be time bound. But why?
Yeah.
And that's the next level of thinking.
Because, is this benefiting me in some way? The Be Smart, what's the benefit here? If it's just to save me time, it's like, then why go through all that process, But there's so many of these acronyms and stuff that tends to just get lost, because everybody knows it, but nobody understands it or understands how to use it. Because, in the book itself, you talk about the VUCA, the volatile, uncertain, changing, and I can't remember what the A is. I can't remember now. But that sort of environment, that culture that sort of grows, because you have to lead people based on who they are. You can't lead right-brained people or people who think in that sort of way with left-thinking tools, because they don't respond to it.
Yeah.
For example, if someone comes to me and says, I need to make a list of things. Like, hell no, I'm not doing that. That's like, oh, here's a list of 20 things that you need. Like, oh, I can't.
Oh
It's like,
my,
oh man.
excitement. Yeah.
It's like, but somebody else does like, ooh, lists, ooh, charts
Yeah,
and graphs, it's like if someone
exactly.
comes to me, it's like, tell me the story or something like that. It's like, that speaks to me more. So yeah, less thinking tools doesn't always help for right thinking people.
No, and it's not that you can't do it, you can do it, but you don't get the energy of it.
Yeah.
And what I try to find out with people I coach is, okay, where does your energy come from? Is that, and there your brain profiles help you finding that out. Is, okay, this is the kind of thinking that I love to do. This is the kind of thinking that I feel I'm in a flow of my work. And if you're doing the work on the opposite uh, spectrum of your thinking, you're not happy.
Yeah.
Your results will not be as good as you would have them if you were working on the other side. So one of the things that you look at is, how can I do my job in a way that suits my preferences,
Yeah.
that is giving me the energy. And when I first had my first brain profile, I saw, and I immediately know why I always had a fight with my director.
Yeah.
Because,
I've been there.
yeah, it was clear. And if I had only knew on that time, I would have gone to him and discussed this insight, and we would have talked about it. We would have had a beer about it and laughed about it and continue working and appreciating each other's thinking modes. It would be a whole different kind of work that we would have. But we didn't understand each other. And we both were thinking we were right. We both had an ego. And then there you go.
Yeah, exactly. When I first got my brain profile, and it also explained to me, especially this book, explains to me, how other people see your style and how you see other people's style. And I
Yeah.
realized the one reason why me and my brother clashes so often is because we're two completely different styles. It's because it actually states there, the way, and it's like, it's exact. It's like, yes, that's just who he is, and but then I started thinking, it's like, but how does he see me? And you turn to that page, it's like, okay, this is the reason why we're constantly clashing. There must be a way to bridge that gap, that line of communication. That how do we get there? But
Yeah.
if we don't understand yourself and if you don't understand the other people and you don't know your neighborhood, you're gonna fail 100% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. So it's also something that I had with my son. I try to help him with school. I said, you have to plan your stuff, and you have to plan, and you make plans to make this and that and that happen, because it worked for me.
Yeah.
And then I did the brain profile for him, and it was the smallest quadrant in his thinking was, and I haven't seen it that small with anyone, was with planning stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not his kind of work. He needs another way of keeping on track. So
Yeah, and like myself, I hate doing paperwork. I hate sitting down and writing complicated plans and manuals and all kinds of technical stuff. It drains me. It's not that I can't do it. I can do it and very well, but it's not where like you said, it's not where I get my energy from,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
But in the book explains that you need to become, you can't just keep on being the one thing. You can't just stay in your own little comfort zone.
No.
You have to have a whole brain leadership approach, especially when you're in a leadership position. You need to take in elements of all the perspectives and all the thinking styles into yourself. And but you explain that you need to also do self leadership, and that means getting your energy, what motivates you, what keeps you going. What did I do to deserve this sort of thing. It's important.
Comes back.
Yeah.
Comes back all the time.
Let me just open. Okay. And yeah, you talk about teams and your circle of influence, or rather your connecting with peers and networking, because we sit now, every once in a while you need to look up and look up from your desk. So networking is a very big part of a company, and being innovative and exploring and being different. Because if you're just copying everybody else and you're not having a discussion about what's new and what's happening and networking, it's also not worth it. It's also just not, it's not going to work.
No. Networking is very, very important. Yeah, it's internal networking is important, but also very much external networking. In getting things done, getting what you want, what you are aiming for, you need to work together. And when in 2011, 2012, I started my own company, I found that people in the entrepreneurial role are much better in networking than people in the corporate role, because it's all so much internally, and entrepreneurs, they are looking for someone to work with and to collaborate, and there's a much more higher level of collaboration between entrepreneurs than when you look into corporate worlds.
Because corporates, you're just, I don't want to use the word just. You're part of a company, right? And there's no sort of like incentive really for you to go out there and find other people to work with and all kinds of things. With an entrepreneur, that's your lifeblood. You need to source new clients, new avenues to explore, new people to work with. Otherwise, the company's going to sink. But like one of my friends, Dr. Arina Yashin-Shaw from Australia, she talks about entrepreneurship. Using all the skills of an entrepreneur, training your people in a company using those skills. Because the lifeblood of any corporation to become innovative is networking, communication, networking, creative thinking, and introspection, knowing who you are and knowing your playground, all kinds of things. All these things comes in to become innovative in a company.
Absolutely. It's absolutely necessary to have your networks internally and externally. And when you can get an intrapreneur mindset within your company, you're winning big time.
Really, and I think that's one of the things why sending your people out to these conferences and getting a consultant in and all these things, it helps a company not just survive but thrive, to grow and to be more, and to encourage everyone in your company to take part ownership, what you call your stakeholders in your company, to become a stakeholder in a company, and saying, to go out there and find new things to explore, find new people to work with, find new companies to work with.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's good to have people going outside, and you mentioned it earlier in our conversation, is sending the right people out. And again, from the brain profiles, you can see people that are not very happy when they are going out and talk to other people. There are people that want to sit in their cubicle, they want to do their job, they want to focus on their work, and they're doing a great job. And you have people that are really outgoing, that want to be there, that want to connect to others. Take a look at that, talk to people. Are you really the person? Do you really want to go out there? Do you really want to learn more about what's happening there and bring it back to us and help us develop, innovate, and what have you?
Yeah. Because that's a person that you want in your company that's not just going to sit there for the next 10 years waiting to retire. That's the person that one day hopefully gets a senior position and drives the company into the next generation. That's the person that you want out there and doing all these things. So now, just jumping a little bit ahead to chapter 9 now, because I've taken up so much of your time already. It's like you talk about be yourself, and because there's already plenty of other people.
Yep.
So if you're going to be anybody, be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. And and you were talking about coming in with casual clothes, or your normal attire in a coaching position, and they expected like a suit and tie and all kinds of things, but that's not who you are, and you just came as yourself. And I love that, because it's also, you have to be authentic in everything that you do. Otherwise, it's just going to be a short walk.
Exactly. Yes. If you, of course, you adapt to what other people think. You adapt to the neighborhood, but please be yourself. At least in your thinking, in the way you talk with people.
Yeah.
And authenticity is so important. People immediately see what is authentic and not. So be yourself. And of course, in the past, when you're growing up, when you're a kid, you want to fit in, but you really are made to stand out. And that's what I want to give you as an advice. Stand out, be there, and show the world what you have. And we have so much more than we think. It's incredible.
And you go into detail about educating your people, how they learn, and you talk about the training versus coaching, like mentorship versus coaching versus just like someone consulting, all kinds of things, that there's different ways to do things, and you need to sort of like choose which one is best suited for you. Because it's important to know that sometimes you don't need a consultant to come in. Sometimes you just need a workshop or something for your people to sort of like get new ideas, because you go on to go with the 1+1, that 1+1 is right, and then most people will come up with 2, right? But there's many variations on that. You go into 1+1 is 3, and all kinds of things. It's all about finding more answers, not just the
it's up to you what you make of it. It's victim or leader, it's up to you. Synergy or just reversed synergy, I don't know what you call it, but yeah, if you really can get that group together, working together, it's incredible energy that you can get out of it. You can do it online. I'm now in an online seminar meeting for 200 days.
Wow.
And that's a group of people. I think it's about 600 people worldwide. We have some prompts, we have some videos, we have to do some assignments, 4 lessons each week. And you write it down, you write your answers, you write down your thinking, and you get a lot of responses from the others. And then you dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you see the real synergy coming up, and you see what's happening with that community. And if you can implement things like that into your team or into your company, wow, look at what you can reach,
what you can do. Yeah, it's so amazing, really, if you actually just take the time to do these things, and like you said, get it out of your head, write it down. Ask other people. It's like, why is this making me angry?
And absolutely. Write it down. Put it in a discussion or whateve you. If it is important, if you feel this is bothering me, or this is something that has to come out of my head, I've got this brilliant idea. Write it down immediately, because within a few seconds it's gone forever. So if you have that brilliant idea, write it down and say, okay, let's think about it. Tomorrow I'll see that again. Wow, that was a brilliant idea. What was it again? And then you start thinking it and bring it into the group, and it's okay, this is my brilliant idea. What do you think of it?
Yeah.
And well, sometimes they will say, and okay, you have to accept that. But the other time, people will build on it, and it's also what I experienced with Ingvar, with the Whole Brain Leader, is we had ideas and we shared those ideas with each other, and you saw synergy coming up. You saw that, okay, Ingvar is not appreciating my ideas. I can feel bad about it, or I can see how can I make my idea better, and ask him, what suggestions do you have? Can you make something better? And if you can leave your ego at the doorstep, oh man, there you
can
go.
Accomplish a lot if you leave the ego at the doorway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was working on my company published this other book called Why Great Leaders Are Catalysts, and there was also 2 writers, sharing the role of creating a book, and they would fight constantly. It's like, I don't like that acronym. It says this, and it's like, I don't like that wording. And every single time they had these big fights, and I would just keep on thinking, it's like, oh, I'm never gonna get paid. This is not gonna work. But they managed it. They left the egos at the door, and they came in and they did it, and it's wonderful. So yeah,
Yep.
you can't let your ego, especially in a leadership position. You can't. You have to dare to be vulnerable, and you have to communicate, and you have to leave your ego at the door, because it's not about you.
No, exactly. There you go. It's not about you. If something has to be changed, it's about you. But you change it for the bigger setting for your team. So you have to have the courage to know that things are about you, that you need to change habits of you, and you must have the humility. You must be humble. You must know, okay, I'm changing this for the better of the team, for the better of the organization, but it must be in line. It must be you as well.
Yes, you can't completely change you for the sake of others, because then
no,
it won't have the same effect. It won't be beneficial to you or anybody, and it's going to be very short.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because if you're already not happy with being in that position, changing yourself to fit in is not going to help.
If it's not your not the place you need to should be in,
because because in the book, you ask the question, is this where I need to be? You have to ask yourself that question, is this where I need to be? You have to look at yourself honestly and critically sometimes, and ask the tough questions.
Yes, I think I even asked that or mentioned that a few times, especially in the beginning of the book. If you're not willing to put in the hard work, you better stop. If you're not, is this overwhelming? Well, think twice. Maybe it's not your way. And if you want to continue, okay, continue.
Yeah.
But make it something worth fighting for. So, yeah, for some people it's not the ideal job, and for others it is. And if you decided this is something I like, go for it.
And I like that. Yeah, and I think that's a good way to end this conversation. Is, honestly, take a very hard look at yourself. Engage in some brain profiling, and there's so many of them. There's the NBI, there's this, there's so many of them. You can just choose one, choose a few, compare them, and then when you've done that, drop me a message in the comments and see what your brain profile says. Are you a high L1 or a low R2 or whatever it may be? If you've done the NBI system or whatever, and just see how you communicate with other people. And it helps you so much to understand who you are, firstly, and how to utilize those skills and work with other people. So I think that's a wonderful way to end this off. Thank you so very much. It's been a long time working to get this interview done, because then I was sick and then it was the holidays. It was just, but it's done now. So thank you so much.
Got it.
And I'm going to give you my address. So please do send me that book. I'd love
I will
to have
send you that
copy.
book. Yeah, I will. I'm so happy that you liked it and that you take a lot of it into practice. So that's great. That's something for me as well.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, and it's nice to be appreciated also for your work, especially when you put so much effort into it. And that's also something else in leadership. Appreciate the people around you for their work and their efforts.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this has been a MindMeld episode, helping you move up and not on. And we'll see you next time. Please subscribe.